Solomon Creed walked east, away from Arizona and all the complications that spilt blood tends to bring. He kept to the minor roads and traveled mostly at night, dodging the traffic and the sledgehammer sun, sipping water from a plastic gallon jug he'd found crumpled in a roadside ditch outside Bisbee. He tipped it up now and drank the blood-warm water until the jug was empty. He could fill it again at the next gas station or diner or truck stop. Water was not a problem. You could pick up water for free if you stuck to the roads. But not food. Food you had to pay for. Or take what you could find, baked and rancid by the side of the road. On day one it had been a cottontail that had been clipped by a car, then limped off to die in the shade of an ephedra bush. He'd skinned and gutted it using the jagged edge of a broken beer bottle, then roasted it over a small fire coaxed from mesquite straw using the same bottle and the sun's fierce rays. Day two was a rattlesnake he'd disturbed in a storm drain while taking shelter from the rising heat. It had struck from the shadows, the rattle coming at the same time as the fangs. Solomon had felt the minute shift in air pressure and twitched out of the way, catching it behind the head, grabbing its tail and cracking it like a bullwhip, so sharp that it snapped the head clean off. He had drunk its blood, the bitter warmth soaking life back into his tired muscles, then gutted it and chewed slowly on its cooling flesh. He had a fleeting memory of doing something similar in a different desert, but like most memories regarding himself, it was gone before he could catch a hold of it. He had sat cross-legged in the dusty dark, licking snake blood from his fingers and sucking the warm, viscous contents of the leathery eggs the mother had been laying. That had been 36 hours ago now. The only things that had passed his lips since were air and water, so hot from the jug you could brew tea with it. But there was something up ahead. Something carried on the wind and getting stronger with each step he took. It was the smell of hot grease and salt, fried potatoes and ham, eggs and coffee, and his stomach rumbled in response whenever the wind shifted. He had smelled similar at every greasy window truck stop he'd passed along the way, and had always got no further than the parking lot. The need to catch another ride and put distance between himself and Arizona, stronger than his hunger. But Arizona was 4 days, hundreds of miles and a state and a half behind him now. And his legs ached and his stomach growled, and the thought of another roadkill meal washed down with plastic-tasting water made him feel sick to his empty stomach. The problem was no longer urgency. It was economic. Because a sit-down meal with seasoning and sauces and ice water on the side would cost money, and the only coin he had to his name was a single worn-down quarter he'd found by a city limit sign 100 miles or more back. He reached into the pocket of the pale suit jacket he wore and palmed a quarter, rolling it over his knuckles as smoothly as he rolled the problem of his poverty over and over in his mind until he saw a skinny tower rise up ahead on the eastbound side of the I-10. Red neon letters burned on the side spelling out Bobby D's Eats, and an arrow buzzed below it, pointing down to a one-story building surrounded by dusty cars and big rigs. Solomon left the highway and walked through lines of trucks with Confederate flags and the silhouettes of pneumatic women on their mud flaps. He passed a boarded-up gas station with decommissioned pumps and a printed sheet of paper taped to the door, announcing that the place was due to be sold at auction on July 21st, along with some land. He had no idea what day it was, but the diner was still open and cooking food, which was all that mattered to him right now. He dropped the empty gallon jug by the door and stepped inside. A bell tinkled above his head, and a couple of sets of eyes peered up beneath the brims of battered caps before returning to their plates of food, finding their steaks and ribs more interesting than a tall, dusty dude who had just blown in. There were maybe 15 guys spread out in a place that could easily seat 80, Not exactly busy, but busy enough for what